On this episode of Imagine, Create, Inspire.
We're all desperate to hang out with one another.
Yeah, no kidding.
Man, you missed it, didn't you?
Oh yeah. 2 years of our lives just kind of melted into a soupy wad face. I even like smelling people. Yesterday I did a thing, and I hugged a lot of people afterwards, and they all have different smells. And I got home and I noticed that I smelled a lot like old Lady Perfume.
Yeah.
And I miss that, actually. I used to I would have never even thought of it, and now I miss smelling like old ladies.
It's like it is the fourth dimension, the undefinable, that ability to connect with actual live, breathing human beings that have a soul.
You are listening to Imagine, Create, Inspire, the podcast. Join host Bruce Andrews in conversations with creatives. Every artist has a story, and the struggle is real to stay inspired and in the flow. Join in the conversation by leaving us your comments, and thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the podcast, y'all. Imagine, create, and inspire. That's our motto. 3 words in a very deliberate, sequential order. Imagination leads to creation. Creation leads to inspiration. And inspiration, when properly applied, produces hope. And hope is a commodity. Hope is fuel for the human soul. That's why we think kindling the imagination is so important. Speaking of that, I got a creative force with me today. Sean Dietrich, better known as Sean of the South.
Where is this force?
The force is with us, man. Thank you for being here, bro.
Thank you for having me. I love it here.
I appreciate you, man. We're all desperate to hang out with one another.
Yeah, no kidding.
Man, you missed it, didn't you?
Oh yeah. 2 years of our lives just kind of melted into a soupy wad.
That's right.
And we lacked communication. We lacked eye to eye, face to face. I even like smelling people. Yesterday I did a thing, and I hugged a lot of people afterwards, and they all have different smells. And I got home and I noticed that I smelled a lot like old Lady Perfume.
Yeah.
And I miss that, actually. I used to I would have never even thought of it, and now I miss smelling like old ladies.
It's like make sure we excerpt that.
Full quote.
That's right. Full quote on that one. Yeah, it is the fourth dimension, the undefinable, that ability to connect with actual live, breathing human beings that have a soul.
Yeah.
In the room with you.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't even have to be an auditory exchange, or it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's just eye contact. Sometimes it's just knowing that there's other energy in the room. It just does something to me, not just in a performance situation, but just period.
Yeah.
It's nice to eat in a restaurant with other people who aren't behind plexiglass or
behind a sneeze guard.
Yeah, it's nice.
Some sterile situation. Yeah, I mean, we all run in. I guess the thing we got in common in this room, we all run in. I guess what you call creative circles.
Yeah.
And so
we're all broke.
That's right. Yeah, we all make hundreds of dollars.
That's right.
And I guess there wasn't an artist alive, like in my walk, that didn't say something in the past, like, if I could just be left alone.
Yeah.
If I could just people just leave me alone and let me do my art.
Right.
Well, you got your wish, brother.
Oh man.
It wasn't exactly the nirvana we thought it was going to be.
I wrote 2 books in relative silence with no other things happening in my life. And I had been saying previously until that in order to write these books, I need some time. I just need alone time. I need someone to give me a big chunk of space. Well, I had that chunk of space, and I finished the books, and they weren't nearly as fun to write as when I had a life.
I feel that. I don't see how, having read, your stories that you post, especially regularly, they're so based on personal experience.
Yeah.
It's like
going to a beer joint, or going to a football game, or going anywhere, meeting somebody out in public. And for 2 years, all of a sudden, that was,
Well, it's like, to me, I don't know what your MO is, but I always marvel at how prolific you are. It's like, so it's like, I get the impression that when you run out of things to write about, you just go down to the 7-Eleven and pick up a Coke or something, and then bam, you got a story.
That's about right. I mean, a few days ago I didn't really know what I was going to write about, and Jamie sent me to Publix. I went to Publix, and I went to the seafood department because she wanted seafood, which is really bizarre. We moved to Birmingham from the Panhandle of Florida, and now we're buying seafood at Publix. That's just that never happens, at least in our old life. And I went to the seafood department, and the lady behind the counter just kind of seemed like she was having a bad day, and we just started talking. And 30 minutes later, her manager's coming out and saying, "What are you doing? Who are you talking to this guy?" And
did she have any idea who you were?
No. And we just I heard, personally, a wonderful story that was inspiring. And when we left, she was crying. I was teary-eyed, and that kind of stuff happens to me sometimes. So that one of the things I like to say when I'm trying to sell the idea that the arts are important, or are more important than some might think, even on an economic level or whatever, I always say that the arts are not only entertaining, but they're transformative and even redemptive. Oh yeah.
And like one of the things that always strikes me about your posts is they let's see if I can say this like I want to say it. They sort of redefine redemption. Or they put redemption in a new frame. It's not like both of us come kind of from a Southern Baptist framework. The idea of redemption.
That's where
it's kind of one thing,
right?
And maybe it don't look just like that.
No, a lady just told me a story. This happened a few days ago. She told me a story of what I guess you'd refer to as her redemption, and she was I don't know what kind of audience this is going to, but her story was a little bit.
Just let her rip.
Raw. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. She was a meth addict, and she was pretty hopeless, and she ended up giving her kids to a relative so that she could pursue her addiction more vehemently. Is that a word? Vehemently?
I like the way you said it.
Yeah. You say it with authority. And she found herself, in the proverbial Skid Row, without a home, without clothes except what she had on, and in a ditch, literally. Yeah. And laid there contemplating how she would kill herself without the means to kill herself.
My God.
Yeah. So this is already the worst story I've ever heard. And she prayed that something would deliver her. She didn't know really who she was praying to. And along comes a black guy who is carrying a purse and handbags, and he's homeless too. She said she can tell because they had a look about him or something. He comes down into the ditch where she is calling home, and she says he was clearly not the kind of guy who goes to church. She said he had makeup on, had his hair,
no wings, and a white robe.
Exactly. Yeah. He said, I love you, and I know that you're hungry. I brought you some food. He reached into his purse. He gave her some food. He fed her. He talked her back to life. He saved her life, and she ended up getting off drugs with his help. And anyway, this guy was her angel, and he didn't look like any angel,
That's right.
That you would see talked about on a Jerry Falwell episode.
Right. No strings in accompanying him when he entered the room.
There was no George Beverly Shea singing at the end. So I like stories like that.
Yeah, man, I think you channel it. I was surprised, I guess. I haven't been introduced to you or the idea of you by Josh Arnold, our mutual friend.
I need to thank him for just about everything. Good.
Well, I mean, he's a lawyer, so he doesn't share much. So when he started sharing the stuff on the Book of Face, I saw one post after another. I finally said, all right, I'm gonna read it. I got turned on to. So subsequently, we booked you early on, and you're speaking and playing, and I only knew you as a storyteller.
Yeah.
Because I'd only read your blogs, never really, and seen, just static images of you.
Right.
And you walked into our, it was shocking, you walked into the venue that we had back then, the little humble venue, and there was a piano there. And you said something like, I know you had a piano on stage. And I was like, do you play? And stunned to find out that you're a great musician, dude.
Well, the piano is my main. I've played that the longest, and I was 9 years old when I started, and it was in a small church, when they figure out that you can play an instrument, you play that instrument
That's
for the
what you
rest
do.
of your life. Every single Sunday, Wednesday, possibly prayer meeting on Saturday night,
Right.
and any youth group activity they have, VBS, you name it.
That's what the way that you get to do that for no money is that's your calling.
That's
I don't mean
exactly
I
right.
don't mean no disrespect by that.
No, I mean that's what I did. I played piano, and when I got a little older, I started branching out a little bit and playing piano in places I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And had a whole lot more fun doing it.
Yeah.
And
Your repertoire got expanded.
you're right. And then when I got a little older, I wanted to play jazz. I really wanted to play jazz. So there was a old man who lived off Campbell Street where I used to live, and he used to be a professor at Auburn of composition for a short time. And he had this little house that was about the size of this studio, and it was wall to wall with books, and he smoked nonstop Winstons. And he was a jazzer. He played an upright bass that was older than I was. And so I met him at his house or his apartment every Monday and Wednesday, and we became the closest of friends, and he taught me just hundreds of songs. And that became...
Because you're an ear player, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't read music, but I faked my way through college music courses, pretending like I could. They'd put music in front of me, and I'd go, oh, yeah. And then I'd listen
Yeah,
to
I hear that.
what everybody was doing, and if I got it wrong, the professors kind of look at me. They knew, but they didn't want to say anything because if they kicked me out of the band, they didn't have a piano player. So, so that's how I got through with the piano. But when I started doing the live shows with, Shaun of the South, there weren't that many opportunities to play the piano, so it was the guitar.
So, I mean, you picked up the guitar.
Oh, I've played the guitar since I was a child too.
Yeah.
I never got any better.
Did your daddy play the guitar?
He did,
Yeah.
not well. He
Yeah.
kind of played it like this, but he did a little. But it was really my uncle who taught me how to play the guitar.
I got you. So
And he was a good guitarist, and he played like old country. I think one of the first songs I learned was "Faded Love," and what was the other? I can sing it. I just can't think of the title of it.
do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. As I look at the letters that you sent to me, and it's you that I am thinking of. As I read the lines that to me were so sweet, I remember our faded love. I miss you, darling, more and more every day. As heaven wouldn't miss them stars above. With every heartbeat I still think of you, and I remember our faded love. It was in the springtime that you came to me. I remember the mating of the doves. I read the letters that you sent to me, and I remember our faded love. I miss you, darling, more and more every day. As heaven wouldn't miss them stars above. With every heartbeat I still think of you, and I remember our faded love.
Man, that's awesome, dude. That's authentic as it can be.
It's a little higher pitch than I thought it was. Apparently, I've gotten older.
Dude, that was good, man. You know, and I guess the title's Faded Love.
Faded Love, yeah, I think I said that.
Was it Ray Price or who wrote that? I don't know. I know Willie Nelson did it at some point.
I think
People are screaming if they're listening now, going, you know, because everybody knows who it is.
Right, everybody knows.
Yeah.
I think the first people I ever heard do it was through my uncle, was the Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was.
You got a lot of that Texas swing and a lot of stuff you do.
Yeah, I like that kind of style a lot.
Yeah. What about the gospel side? I mean,
Yeah.
you're stuck.
Yeah.
Playing the piano all those years. I mean,
right.
all those old Baptist tunes, they're in you.
Oh, I love them. Yeah, and
It's
for
like
a
John
short
Lee Hooker said, they're in you, and they got to come out.
for a short time, I played at a missionary Baptist church because they lost their piano player, and their drummer was 13 years old, and he was fire. I mean, he was good, and he asked me to come play, and so I played, and I was the only white boy in the room, and I played a lot of that, and then I started singing a little bit at their church, and then for a short time I played. And people don't ever believe me when I say this, but I played accordion in a Mexican church. It was
That's another pull-out.
Really, the accordion is something that just, nobody plays it. So
Yeah.
I was the only accordionist maybe in 600 square miles.
Yeah.
And they needed one. And it was a tiny church. And so they asked me to play, and I played with them, and that led to playing more Mexican gigs with them. And that's how I kind of learned my, whatever you call the version of Spanish I can speak. So gospel's a big deal. A big part of my repertoire, because those are the earliest songs I can remember.
Right.
And sing with people. You want to hear a gospel song?
Yeah, man.
What can I play? I am weak, but thou art strong. Save me, Jesus, from all wrong. I'll be satisfied as long as I walk, Lord. Let me walk, Lord, close to thee. Just a closer walk with thee. Granted, Jesus, it's my plea, daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. When this fleeting life is o'er, time for me is gonna be no more. Guide me gently, safely, oh, to your shore, Lord God, to your kingdom shore. Just a closer walk with thee. Granted, Jesus, it's my plea, daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. I am a pilgrim and a stranger, traveling through this wearisome land. I have no home in that yonder city, good Lord, and it's not made by hands. I'll just stop there.
That was good, man. You could have medleyed that forever. Yeah. You're like the king of the gospel medley. Every time I see you, it's like,
well, one leads to another, leads to another. I think that comes from the all-day singings.
Yeah. I think I heard you say in some interview or sometime, one of your storytellings about all the references to blood.
Yeah, we got about 50 songs that talk about blood. After a while, after a medley of those, you get a little bit sick to your stomach.
Regardless of the redemption.
Right.
That's right, man. You're on like what, 17 or 18 books? Where are you at?
I believe that I'm coming out with my 15th.
Is it? Yeah.
I think so. It might be you might be right. I don't know.
I don't know.
They're all equally as mediocre, so they get lost in the mush.
So you're I mean, there's always I call it a wilderness story, with every artist, like the children of Israel, running around in circles, wondering what the heck to do next. Artists have some similar experience.
I've never thought of it like that.
Like with you, what would that be? I mean, like when you knew, at least you had some inkling of, I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to be a writer or something like that, but I know not how.
Yeah, well, that's, let's see. I think I'm still there. When you're born as an artist, I guess, you don't really have a word for it, so you don't know. I mean, I remember that old fellow I was telling you about, the Auburn professor. He always told me, if you're I'll back up. I know people who are musicians or painters or authors and they're real quick to call themselves an artist. They're real quick to label themselves that, or I'm an author, or I'm a musician, or I'm this. And it comes up in every conversation. It's kind of like almost...
In case you didn't know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And I remember that old man telling me that if you're truly an author, if you're truly a writer, if you're truly an artist, if you're truly a musician, you don't have to call yourself that. Everybody else will call you that.
Well said.
And I remember thinking, it took a little load off my mind as a younger man because, I wanted to pursue my creativity and not be stuck in the dead-end jobs I was doing at the time. And it took the pressure off. I don't have to call myself anything. I don't have to vie for anything or try to be anything. Just, as cliche as it is, just be yourself. And if you are this thing, they will call you this thing. And chances are they're going to call you something anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that was formative for me, that advice, because as a child, I dropped out of school. I have no education. I finally got my education as a grown man. So that's a train wreck, a shipwreck and a half. And there's not a whole lot of opportunities for guys like that. So I kind of grew up just thinking I wouldn't have any. Well, once I started getting some opportunities, and y'all were at the cusp of that for me. The way I came to Columbiana was I shared something on Facebook that I had written that was 500 words about Andy Griffith. And Steve Latham up at the school.
I remember this.
Shared that post with all his friends, but he did it the old-fashioned way. He emailed it and messaged it and copied and pasted it and texted it to his friends. Basically, blitzed everybody. Yeah, just said, "Look, read this," and it somehow Columbiana was the central of his, the epicenter of that. And so then they all asked me to come speak at the school here at Shelby County, and I said that's a terrible idea.
That seems weird.
Yeah, you don't want to hear that. And I came, and they said, well, why don't you put on presentations for the kids? I said, well, that's even worse. I mean, so I did, and it was like 30 minutes of dying in front of children. I mean, just they had these expressions that looked like wood. I mean,
trying to read the room.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? And that led to me coming here, and doing this. And anyway, that night they threw a barbecue at the school, and let me tell some stories and sing some songs. And the people were really, really gracious. These were the adults, so they had a little more taste. Yeah. And then that led to doing stuff here, and that was the beginning for me. That was the beginning of my, if you call it a career, I'm not sure you can. And
let's just start today. I'm saying it's a career. Yeah.
Okay. It's a career.
License. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a career. Yeah.
It's a career. Not a good one, but it's a career.
Yeah. It's a career, man.
This has been about a decade for me that I've been this kind of stuff now.
Well, dude, you're a blessing. You're a natural. I mean, and I'm glad that everything's back in session, because it gives you what I think you do best in the 4 or 5 times I've seen you is read the room.
I think I finally realized. My mother told me when I guess it was about 5 years ago. She said, you're a performer. You don't probably realize it, but that's just who you are. You're a performer.
Your mama said it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said, you've always been performing. You were an introverted kid. You didn't say much, but when they got you up on stage, you were this little fat ham.
The one with the husky genes.
Exactly. She said you would just come alive. We as parents, we'd watch you, and you come alive. I mean, I pumped my fist at the ceiling as I proclaimed the glory, and I got pictures of me, and I'm just a little chubby thing, and I'm holding a microphone with the pinky up like I'm Bill Gaither, and
Yeah.
So not being able to do that with people was tough. That was tough for me. Not to give a sad soap story, everybody had it worse, actually. I mean, I'm complaining about not being able to perform, and other people can't feed their families, so that's not.
Well, I mean, you went through. I mean, it wasn't easy for any of us, and you're like many of us, at least in this room. You had to drag your wife along.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
I say that because you have a sweet wife like
Yes.
I do, and a teammate
It's
rather
like
than
they
just a soulmate.
say, a musician and artist without a wife or a girlfriend is just homeless.
That's the dang truth.
It is true.
How did you and Jamie meet?
We met at a Baptist church. I was playing the piano, and
Praise God. Yeah.
she came in during the rehearsal when I was rehearsing with the music minister, who was mid-70s, and I was playing with the Hammond organist, who was also mid-70s, and I was not yet 21. And she sat there in the front row as people were filing in. The Baptist church always fills up from the back to the front.
Amen.
And so she was a rarity in that she was up front, and she sat there, and I noticed her watching my hands, which was really interesting. So she was really interested in what I was doing, and she kind of. Our official meeting was, at the potluck that we would have before on the Wednesday nights. And we had that night fried macaroni and cheese and catfish. And I knew something was going to happen with this woman when she handed me her red Solo cup and said, we hadn't spoken a word to each other yet. She said, give me some more tea. I was like, who is this chick? And what's she doing? Just telling me to get her tea. I mean, that's not
the test.
Yeah, and of course, some primal reflex in me took the cup, and I went to get her tea.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And
Paid off.
Came back, and she had me get all 6 of her friends tea too, and so we were married in 6 months.
Yeah, she was testing your mettle, and you passed the test.
Yep, I turned 21 on our honeymoon, and so we've been married. We're coming up on 20 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a while, but it's been really good. We don't have any kids, but we just moved to Birmingham, and we tell everybody we moved to Birmingham because it's a great city to raise your dogs.
Yeah, well, I would agree. I'm a dog person, and
yeah,
you got a pretty new dog, don't you?
Yep.
I mean,
well,
she's fairly new.
5 years.
That's new compared
Yep.
in
That's
the
right.
dog lovers world.
That's right. That's baby.
They don't live long enough anyway.
No, true.
They sure don't. But I've followed you on all your dog stories. So.
Oh man, yeah. We've had a lot of. In my life, I've had this. She's my 13th dog, and out of all my life, and every time you form a relationship with them when they pass, a little piece of you dies.
Yeah, it does. And it. Observing them, they've mastered living in real time. And then you look at them every time and you say, I wish I could do that.
I know it. I have learned more about human nature by watching my dogs than I ever learned through observing humans, because we're so good at hiding things.
Yeah.
We're so
good.
good.
Dogs are, the interesting thing about dogs is they don't have existential crises.
That's right. They lay their head down at night and there's no remorse.
Yeah, they're never on the edge of the roof ready to jump
off.
off.
That's right.
Or they're not journaling, their deepest thoughts. They don't have to.
No, and they're so, like you said, they live in the moment.
Yeah, wish I could do it, man, or better. That's the main blessing I get from my dog. But your comedic timing. Is that like? I mean, are you aware of it, or did you cultivate it, or?
I would say that I do. It took. Well, I've always had my black belt in sarcasm. So I can literally and carry on an entire conversation and say the exact opposite of what I'm thinking, and so there was that. But
that's a political skill set. I mean, that's like a nuclear weapon.
That doesn't fare well with your mother. But I remember I was. It was shortly after my father died, and I was keeping company with this girl that I really really liked. As a adolescent boy, and her sister. I really liked her sister. She was much older than me and much prettier than me, and she was a lifeguard too. So she always wore a one piece, and she would walk through the living room and
like a Ferrari drove by.
Yeah. And so we always just really liked her. And I remember she said to me, this older girl who I was just smitten with said, "You're really funny." And I said, "You mean I look funny, or I just am funny?" Yeah. She said, No, you're funny." I said, "Well, how do I look?"
You're like, which was where's that going to get you? Where's that register?
And she wasn't too interested in the way I looked, for sure, but I never forgot it. She said I was funny, and after that, I sort of kind of tried. I tried to emulate comedians and such. I would be lying if I told you that all just came as easy.
No, man. I would assume, timing is.
You go on stage and you can just die in front of people.
Yeah.
You can absolutely just be murdered.
Storytelling is more than narration, so it's
there's a rhythm to the way the audience. I say all this, and tomorrow, I'm going to bomb at your place.
No, you're not.
But there's a rhythm. I talk like I know what I'm doing, and then I'm going to go here and it's crickets.
We ain't going to jinx it like that.
To me, there's a rhythm to the audience laughter, than as opposed to just you. A lot of people think.
Do you like, particularly in your case, because I broach this with a lot of people that play and talk and sing, just regular conversation. You're comfortable with silence.
Yeah.
Or did you have to get there?
Oh no, it's taken time to get there there's a
especially some of your stories, man.
There's lots of
when
silence.
You got them.
Yeah.
You can hear a pin drop.
That's right. I like that. It heightens the. Well, there's silence when we talk. Obviously, there's lots of silence where I start drooling. Where you trying to figure out what my name is and I like conversation. I like not trying so hard. Sometimes people come off really polished performers, and I don't like that because it's not very real. But there is a rhythm to talking with an audience that's different than talking to people, and the rhythm of the laughter kind of has to be right. There's a ha 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 laughter. There's a gap of a certain amount of time, and there needs to be a laugh here. And there needs to be a laugh here in order to keep the rhythm going. And then if I'm going to get into something a little more serious, there still needs to be a little bit of humor for what I do. So those gaps get longer, the laughter, but they have a role to play. And what I love about audiences is they all know that. They all know that they have a role to play, and that you are fulfilling your role, and they will fulfill their role unless they're smoking crack.
Yeah.
And
it's a different audience.
Right. And it's fun. It's fun. And we just, like I said earlier, we just did something at the University of Alabama, which was a bucket list thing for me.
Yeah.
I walked into the Bryant Conference Center, and the place was full. The sound guy said, this LED screen behind you is the largest LED screen in the Southeast.
So you knew your big head was on there.
Oh, and I did. Yeah. And they played a big picture of my head slideshow. My nostrils were big enough to park a Buick inside. And every hair on this scraggly beard was, I could reach out and touch it. It was the size of that tripod, just enormous. And I spoke to these people, and I had a ball, and I've forgotten how much I missed it. But
good crowd energy.
Yeah. So anyway, it's kind of come back for us after the pandemic. We've been really busy and had a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man.
It is, because I started to have a little existential crisis there.
Yeah, you want to have one every now and then so you can write better. But,
I definitely had a few over the pandemic. I remember thinking to myself, because, the pandemic started for me, we came out with a book, my memoir. So this is, kind of a personal book.
Right.
And we were on a tour of 21 cities, and a lot of them were in Alabama.
Right.
Which, so, that tells you they're not big cities. They're little cities, craters of the moon, Alabama kind of thing. And I hugged about 1,400 people, it felt like, in Huntsville. And we went to our hotel room, and that night the news anchor said, "This just in, don't hug people."
Made you feel like an assassin?
Yeah, you could kill your grandmother with a hug.
Yeah.
And, that next day we watched little beer joints and grocery stores and stuff outside our hotel room window get boarded up.
Yeah.
And as we're driving out.
Surreal, right?
Oh, man, we're driving away, and there's this like a Costco type thing, and there's a 10-mile long line of people waiting to buy toilet paper.
Yeah. It was weird.
It was weird. And then it was, a few years of nothing, and being a writer is kind of a gig-by-gig deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so the gigs disappeared. And my memoir is out there. I just launched it at the beginning of the greatest crisis facing the U.S. in this modern century.
Yeah.
On the week that the crisis began, here comes Sean's memoir. So the publishers love that. And so I did go through a few sad moments. I remember finally having this thought. I was out for a walk, and I was really having a bad day. And I kind of thought to myself, when it comes back, if it comes back, and I believed it would, there's going to be that moment where you get into a big room with all your friends, and you're going to hear them happy and laughing, and you're going to be making music, and you're going to look at your friends on stage playing music with you, and then afterward you're all going to hug each other and shake hands. It's going to feel like coming home. It's going to feel like dying and going to Beulah Land. And so our first real gig like that happened in Georgia, and we did it at this little theater, and the place was busy, and oh man, I just can't tell you how good it felt to just be around folks again.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Feel that fourth dimension, that undescribable thing of connecting with people.
Definitely.
Dude, you do it so well. And I can't tell you the number of times that you being transparent, personally blessed me.
Oh, well.
Reading the posts and everything.
I'm going to hire you to come around with me and praise me all day long.
Well,
that'll make me feel real good.
I'm a little hard to get through to too. I like to go down my own rabbit holes, and when I get down in them, I won't get out.
Yeah.
So it's I think your stuff is on the reel. It hits people in the heart, and I'm 65 and I know people that are 25 that dig it as much as I do.
Well, that's
so that ain't easy to do, and you do it in such an authentic way. I think it's like you said earlier, it's it's just creative output that you can't not do it, and it's what you do, and it's who you are. And it's interesting that every time if you talk to somebody long enough that's an artist, they'll always give you some version of, well, you should overcome the fear of other people's opinions. And I appreciate that sentiment.
Yeah.
But it's mighty difficult to do, and most people are lying when they say they don't care.
And I hadn't figured it out.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So to go, well, maybe I care about what other people say, but I'm gonna get on this astral plane up here, whatever you want to call it, this wind current, and I'm gonna glide and be who I'm gonna be.
Well, yeah. I mean, yesterday, on that subject, at the University of Alabama, which to me was always like the Emerald City. I was born in the third quarter of Bear Bryant's Farewell Liberty Bowl. My father was watching Jesse Bendross score the 8-yard touchdown and Peter Kim make the kick as I was being officially presented to the earthly domain. And I was interviewed by a guy, this is, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago, who was a professor at the University of Alabama, or is a professor of literature. And the interview was okay. It wasn't bad. But I didn't belong there, and it was kind of clear talking to him that he was kind of wondering why I was there too. He had a PBS show, and so I'm speaking, and he's like, "So tell me about your educational background."
Oh
and,
my
you know,
God!
I just unloaded my shipwreck of a life, and he's just kind of scratching his head, and he's not really understanding what it is that I do. And the more he's not understanding, the more I'm not understanding what I'm doing. And I feel just like the biggest neck who ever walked the face of the earth as I left that interview. And the interview ran, and I never even watched it. I just came.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere on YouTube, and everyone can look it up, and that's wonderful. And yesterday, he came to that show.
Oh, the same dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, and he's a good guy. And he's smarter than I am. That's really what it boils down to. He's smarter and more learned. And just
he's got papers to prove it. That's all. Yeah.
And he came to the show, and afterward he shook my hand, and we got our picture made together. And he said, "That was great." He said, "You are so good. You've come so far. I'm really proud of you." And I almost started crying because I don't feel that kind of confidence where don't care what people think. I've never been blessed with that kind of confidence. I'm just really.
Is that the same way you felt what's that story you tell about meeting your elementary school teacher in the checkout line?
Yeah, the Piggly Wiggly. Very, very similar feeling.
Yeah.
Validating.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I need more validation than I should need, but I do.
That's a humble way to react to him. You know, I would have been tempted to say, I appreciate you saying I've come a long way, but I was doing this when we interviewed. I just couldn't describe it to you.
No, he's a good man. It's nothing about him. It was all me. It was the underconfidence and the.
You had that. What do they call it? Imposter syndrome.
I absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I do, and I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, I don't belong here. I shouldn't be doing this. And it's not like I make a lot of money. It's not like I'm living in luxury. We live in a 1,200 square foot house that's mostly covered in dog hair in a basic neighborhood. I drive a 20-year-old truck. My wife drives a plumber's van that looks like it was a LabCorp vehicle, like we're there to collect stool samples. We're not wealthy. We're just normal people.
Look like you're doing pretty good on the happiness quotient.
But we're happy.
That's where it's at, dude. I mean, you know, I always or say if I get far enough in the conversation that, you know, my favorite quote from old Zig Ziglar was, you know, that success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile dream. So in other words, you never arrive, but if you can't appreciate the journey,
yeah,
you know,
that's so
as it's
good.
Unfolding, you know, so it's progressive. I love that. To those two words, I wish I could have written something like that. But progressive realization of a worthwhile dream. So progressive, it never stops.
That's true.
And
that is so
so
true.
many people think they got to arrive somewhere.
Well, I think that just makes it worse because then you realize you're not ever going to get there.
Or when you do get there, you go. It's like after opening all the gifts on Christmas,
right?
Like, next,
someone gave me a bumper sticker. It's on my guitar case because he had heard me tell a story about it, and I had seen it in traffic. I don't know where he found it because I couldn't find it. And it says, "Life got easier when I gave up." And I just like that. Just give up.
I love simplicity, man. It's like when people can distill a quote. You know, you're good at that, but you know, it's like when somebody can say in 5, 6, 8 words something that's just got profundity all in it. It's just amazing.
I think best advice anybody could have in that college age, especially that college age where they're just learning how to be ambitious little greedy brats.
Yeah, that's a good selection. You're loaded up. Yeah.
Just give up. Just give up, and your midlife crisis will come a little later instead of earlier.
Yeah, it was another guy that says great compact quotes. Thelonious Monk, since you're a jazz guy, he said, "The artist is the one who becomes most like himself."
Wow.
He also said,
I don't even understand that. It's so good.
I know. It's like, but if you think about it, it's like, well, he also said, complexity is the enemy of execution. So, you know, and
he was smarter than they thought.
Think about it. You know, it's like that's some heavy.
That's some. Yeah.
That's a heavy download right there.
But that's good.
Yeah, man. I know you got to go to another appointment. I'm honored that you'd spend some time with us.
Man, I'm honored that you even want to have me.
Man, we're going to hang out for a while, and I'm really looking forward to doing that this Saturday.
Hey, y'all have been instrumental in changing my life.
Well,
you might not know it, but you have.
Well, Thank God. Literally. Well, brother, if you would take us out with a tune of your choosing, and we'll actually have all the links. If there's anything specific you want us to link to when we do publish this, let us know.
Okay.
But if somebody's absolutely outside the circle and doesn't know what about Shawn of the South, I mean, it's a pretty easy Google affair. Check it out. And again, man, thank you for connecting with us and hanging out with us. And this thing will roll first on Facebook, and then it'll be on Roku TV under SCAC TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm going to have to watch it.
Do it.
Not this one, but other people.
I do it, man.
We had our little drama. We kissed in a field of wine, and stars fell on Alabama last night. I can't forget the glamour. Her eyes held a tender light, and stars fell on Alabama last night. I never planned in my imagination a situation so heavenly, a fairyland that no one else could enter, and in the center, you and me. My heart beat like a hammer, her arms wound round me tight, and stars fell on Alabama last night. I never planned in my imagination a situation so heavenly, a fairyland that no one else could enter, and in the center, you and me. I'll never forget the glamour, her arms wrapped around me tight, yeah, and stars fractured Alabama last night. Stars fell on Alabama last night.
Amen, bro. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Imagine, Create, Inspire, the podcast. For more information on the Shelby County Arts Council, please visit www.shelbycountyartscouncil.com.